Did you feel it the moment the week began, like a subtle pause between heartbeats, as if something is shifting just beneath the surface, slow but sure, invisible to the eye but unmistakable to the soul? This isn't the kind of week that demands answers. It's the kind that quietly offers clarity to those who are still enough to listen. May 5th to May 11th, 2025 isn't just another stretch of days on the calendar. It is a bridge, a recalibration point, where what's been stirring inside you finally starts aligning with the energy around you. Not a surge, not a storm, but a deep, gradual turn, a shift from inner friction to clearer direction. The moon begins this week in Cancer, reminding you to anchor your emotions before you speak, to come back to your center before you chase another goal. As it moves through Leo and into Virgo by week's end, the emotional landscape evolves. What began as vulnerability becomes discernment. This is not the week to perform, it's the week to align. Cancer softens you, Leo tests you, Virgo refines you. The energy moves like a wave, and if you flow with it, you'll find new grounding. If you resist, it may feel like life is asking questions you're not ready to answer. Meanwhile, Mercury finishes moving through its post-retrograde shadow, and this is significant. You've been walking through a fog for weeks, communication delays, misread intentions, scattered thoughts, but now the fog begins to clear. The mental static lowers. There's more space to breathe, more clarity to speak without confusion. That doesn't mean everything falls into place at once, but it does mean the information you've been waiting for, the missing piece, the follow-up message, the inner realization, is beginning to form. The world is speaking again. Are you ready to hear it? And then there's Venus, still in Gemini, still stirring hearts in unusual ways. This week, Venus begins to reveal not just what we love, but how we've misunderstood what we need. Conversations this week may begin casually, but lead to deeper insights. You may suddenly realize you've been craving emotional depth in a space where only surface-level connection existed. Or perhaps a light-hearted friendship reveals a truth about your capacity to be seen. Venus in Gemini doesn't point with drama. It opens doors through dialogue. The right words, shared at the right time, can be healing. But only if you're willing to speak them, only if you're willing to listen. This week doesn't move fast, but it moves with purpose. It asks for your presence, your patience, and your willingness to see things as they are, not as you wish they were. The universe isn't interested in your performance this week. It's interested in your authenticity. The goal isn't perfection. The goal is presence. And in that space, where nothing is forced, where silence is honored, everything can begin to shift. Aries this week asks you to step back before you act. Your natural instinct is to lead, to initiate, to blaze ahead, but the stars are urging reflection before motion. Mercury's post-shadow phase is clearing up, and messages or plans you've been waiting on are finally starting to arrive. But rushing through them will only cause more confusion. Use this time to double-check your details, revisit your priorities, and trust that momentum is building behind the scenes. Rest your voice. Not just your literal voice, but your need to always have the answer, the solution, the direction. This isn't about silencing yourself. It's about making room for your intuition to speak louder than your impulses. Something important is coming through this week, possibly tied to communication, travel, or a contract that's been delayed. Pay attention to the fine print. Don't skim over what your body tenses up to read. That discomfort is a clue, not a coincidence. If a conversation feels like it needs more time, give it that space. If your energy is being pulled towards someone or something unexpectedly, follow the thread, but gently. Curiosity, not control, is your ally this week. Aries energy burns bright, but this week it needs to burn slow. You may also notice a shift in your emotional landscape around midweek. As the moon moves from Cancer into Leo, there's a desire to be seen more fully. but that desire can be tempered with vulnerability. You don't need to announce your growth to prove it. Let your quiet strength speak for itself. By the end of the week, as the moon settles into Virgo, you'll have a clearer sense of what's worth your energy and what's simply noise. Use that clarity to start streamlining your commitments. Not everything deserves your full flame. Learn to protect your fire. Taurus, your season is in full swing, and the energy around you is shifting in ways that may not be loud, but they are undeniable. There's movement this week, subtle, maybe even invisible to others, but something inside of you knows something is beginning to loosen. It could be financial, it could be emotional, it could be both. The thing you thought was immovable, the dynamic that felt locked or repetitive, is quietly beginning to open. But here's the thing. This isn't the week to force the gate open. It is the week to feel the hinges creak and wait for the door to move on its own. Don't push, don't gamble. Don't try to convince anything or anyone to be what they're not ready to be. Your power this week isn't in making something happen. It's in knowing when to be still. The energy around your finances, your long-term investments, your emotional boundaries, it's fragile right now. Not weak, but sensitive. You are building something real, but real things take time. If you try to rush the process, you risk compromising the stability you've worked so hard to build. And if someone asks for more than they've earned, of your time, your money, or your energy, pause before you give. Not everything generous is wise, and not everything urgent deserves your attention. There may also be a slow realization this week around loyalty. Not just who you've been loyal to, but why. Are you standing by someone out of love or out of habit? Are you holding onto a plan because it's right or because it's familiar? Taurus energy thrives in stability, but growth sometimes requires you to challenge your own comfort. The security you're building is meant to support you, not trap you. Let the small shifts guide you. The more you listen, the more the next step will become obvious. You don't need to chase it. You just need to stay open when it shows up. Gemini, there's a subtle spotlight forming around you this week, one you didn't ask for, but may be more ready for than you think. Your energy is magnetic right now. People are drawn to your words, your ideas, your presence, even if you're not entirely sure why. That's Venus, still spinning through your sign, amplifying your charm and highlighting your role as a messenger. This is not just about being heard. It's about being understood. The way you say things this week matters. The conversations you start, the responses you give, the energy behind your words, it all lands louder than usual. Choose your words with care, because what you speak now can ripple further than you expect. It's not about being cautious, it's about being intentional. What do you really want to say? What truth have you been circling but avoiding? And what version of yourself are you presenting to the world? This is a week where people are listening, whether you know it or not. Say something that matters, not for attention, but for alignment. You may also find that someone unexpected reaches out this week, maybe through a message, a chance encounter, or an invitation that seems casual but carries deeper meaning. Pay attention to who shows up. Pay attention to what feels different. There's an opportunity here for a connection that inspires something new in you, creatively, romantically, even spiritually. But you'll miss it if you're too busy proving something. You don't need to impress anyone right now. You only need to be honest, curious, and present. Don't stretch yourself too thin. Your energy is a resource, not a display. There's also a quiet call this week to check in with your physical self. Gemini energy often lives in the mind, quick, agile, restless. But the body doesn't move as fast as your thoughts do. Rest matters this week. Hydration, stillness, stretching. You don't need to stop your momentum, but you do need to pace it. The conversations you're having are important, but don't forget to listen to the conversation your body is trying to have with you too. Cancer, you're feeling everything this week. The moon began the week in your sign, and its residue is still softening you, pulling you inward, making you feel more deeply than usual. This isn't a burden, It's a portal. You're moving through something that may feel nostalgic, heavy, or unexpectedly tender. But that wave isn't here to drown you. It's here to wash something away. The old emotions that are surfacing aren't mistakes. They're memories calling for closure, stories asking to be rewritten, grief asking to be held one last time before it can let go. You may find yourself revisiting the past, not because you're stuck, but because your soul is finally ready to let something go. This is healing. Quiet, unglamorous, real healing. It may not look like much from the outside. It may just be you sitting alone, remembering something that once broke you and realizing it doesn't anymore. Or feeling a sadness rise, letting the tears fall, and choosing not to shut down or run away. That's power, that's progress, that's the kind of emotional growth that rebuilds your inner foundation, stronger than it's ever been. This isn't the week to suppress what rises. Let it come. Let yourself feel all of it, not because pain is a badge of honor, but because healing requires feeling. The truth is, you are not meant to carry these old stories into the next chapter. The fears, the guilt, the identities shaped around survival, they served their purpose, but they are not your future. Let them burn away quietly. Let them go like smoke from a candle extinguished, not with a bang, but with reverence. You might feel a pull toward solitude this week, or maybe just toward people who feel like home. Honor that. You don't need to explain yourself. You don't need to perform. This is your moment to come back to yourself, to remind yourself that you are safe now, that you've grown beyond what once wounded you. Let the world move how it wants. Your job this week is to be with yourself fully. In that space, clarity will rise. And from that clarity, your next step will become beautifully obvious. Leo, the spotlight you often command so naturally feels dimmed this week. But don't mistake that for absence. The stage isn't quite ready, and that's not a rejection of your brilliance. It's protection. Timing is everything for you right now. You may feel like life has hit pause, like progress is stalling, or people aren't seeing your efforts. But beneath the surface, your future is stitching itself together in ways that demand silence, not spectacle. The delay isn't working against you. It's working for you. You're not being held back. You are being held in place until alignment catches up with you. Midweek offers a quiet kind of clarity. Not the kind that comes from outside validation, but the kind that settles in when no one's watching. Maybe someone says something that strikes a chord, or maybe you find yourself alone long enough to really listen to the voice inside you. Either way, you're being offered truth, not dressed up, not dramatic, just plain and powerful. Let it land. You don't need to make a scene to make a shift. Sometimes the most transformative moments are the ones no one sees. Your creativity is also undergoing a reset. If you felt blocked or uninspired, it is because you have been trying too hard to push something that is meant to flow. This week, inspiration returns, but not through strategy. It returns through softness, through stillness, through rest. And that may be the hardest lesson of all for a Leo heart that is used to showing up bold, full, radiant. But rest is not weakness. It's a reset, a reminder that your fire burns brightest not when you burn out, but when you let the flame gather strength again. Stop proving, start listening. The muse is speaking again, and this time it's whispering from the quiet. Virgo, something inside you finally exhales this week. The shift you've been waiting for, whether in a relationship, a project, or simply within yourself, starts to take shape. You've been carrying too much, not just the tangible responsibilities, but the invisible ones too, the mental load, the guilt, the silent expectations you place on yourself to keep everything in order, to hold it all together, to be the one who fixes what falls apart. But the truth is, you're not meant to carry everything, and this week, the universe makes space for you to lay some of it down. There's a conversation on the horizon, maybe with someone else, maybe with yourself, that brings clarity. Not necessarily closure in the way you hoped for, but understanding. And sometimes that's even more powerful. You don't need everyone to agree with your choices. You don't need to justify your path. You just need to stand in what you know is true. This week reminds you that boundaries are not barriers. They are declarations of what you will and will not hold. And if someone hasn't earned access to your truth, they're not entitled to demand it. You're building something real right now, something rooted in intention, in purpose, in quiet discipline. And while it may not look impressive from the outside, it's sacred. Stay grounded in that. Don't get distracted by the noise, by the opinions, by the projections. You're not here to please everyone. You're here to live in alignment. And that may mean saying no more often. It may mean letting go of the guilt that comes from choosing your own peace. But that decis where your power is right now, in your ability to choose what's worth your energy and what's simply old weight dressed as obligation. Libra, the week holds up a mirror, and what you see may surprise you. Not because it's unfamiliar, but because you've grown in ways you haven't yet acknowledged. This is not the time to hide behind politeness. This is the time to get honest about what balance actually means to you now. You've spent so much time trying to keep the peace, to maintain harmony, to smooth things over. But this week, the universe asks you to stop performing balance and start embodying it. Real peace isn't silent. Real balance isn't about avoiding conflict. It's about being in alignment with your truth, even when that truth disrupts the status quo. There may be a part of you that still feels responsible for the emotional comfort of others, that if you speak your truth, someone else will feel uneasy, and somehow that's your fault. But that's not your burden to carry anymore. This week, you're re-invited to let go of the parts of you that twist yourself into someone else's expectations. You've outgrown that version of yourself. Let them go. Let them fall away, even if it feels uncomfortable, even if it means disappointing someone. You can't keep sacrificing your truth just to make things look good. This is the moment to choose what feels good, not in a fleeting way, but in a way that brings you home to yourself. There may also be an unexpected invitation this week, an opportunity, a connection, a chance to say yes to something you didn't plan for, especially when it comes to love or partnership. Pay attention to what arises unexpectedly. Not every surprise is chaos. Sometimes it's alignment dressed in spontaneity. And if it feels real, if it feels alive in your chest, not just impressive on paper, don't run from it. Let it unfold without controlling the outcome. You don't have to decide everything now. You just have to be present with what's showing up. This week is asking for your honesty, with yourself first and foremost. Where are you still holding on to dynamics that no longer serve who you're becoming? Where are you staying silent when you really want to speak? Where are you saying yes to keep the peace when your whole body is begging you to say no? These are the questions that matter now. And the more you answer them honestly, the more you free yourself from the weight of keeping things balanced at the cost of your soul. Scorpio, the truth has been sitting under the surface for a while now, bubbling, rising, whispering in subtle moments when your guard is down. And this week, it doesn't want to stay hidden anymore. There's something inside you, maybe a conversation that's long overdue, a decision you've delayed, or a boundary you've been afraid to draw, that's ready to come into the light. You may find yourself needing to say something that feels uncomfortable, or finally hearing something from someone else that you've always sensed but couldn't have put into words. This isn't about confrontation, it's about liberation. The weight of avoidance has been growing heavier. This is your invitation to let it go. You've always had a relationship with truth that's deeper than most. You can feel when someone isn't being honest, even when their words are smooth. You can see through veils that others don't even know they're wearing. But when it comes to yourself, you sometimes carry truths too quietly, letting them calcify in the shadows. This week says, enough, not to explode, but to release. Not to burn bridges, but to clear space. The words don't have to be perfect, they just have to be real. Whatever you've been sitting on, say it. Whatever you've been fearing, face it. You already know what needs to be done. Now it's just about honoring that knowing. Your dreams this week may also feel different, vivid, symbolic, even strange. But they are not random. They're not just fragments of memory or stress. They are messages, warnings, invitations. At least one of them carries something sacred, a roadmap, a direction, a truth you've been trying to see with your conscious mind but couldn't. Pay attention, write them down, reflect on them later in the week when the emotion has settled and the meaning starts to emerge. Your subconscious is speaking clearly now. Listen, Sagittarius, expansion is in your DNA, but this week expansion only happens if you're willing to walk toward what's uncertain. The path ahead isn't fully visible yet, and that might make you hesitate. But hesitation won't keep you safe. It will only keep you stuck. This is the week to take one bold, uncalculated step. Not recklessly, not carelessly, but with the kind of courage that trusts the process even when the outcome isn't guaranteed. Something is calling to you, not loudly, but persistently. You may not have all the facts, but you have the fire. Trust it. A fire is building in your spirit. You can feel it in your chest, in your bones, in the restless energy that won't quite sit still. The desire to move, to shift, to create, it's growing. But you get to choose what that fire becomes. Channel it into creation, not conflict. Don't let your impatience turn into arguments. Don't let your frustration become carelessness. This week gives you access to raw energy, to momentum, but it's up to you to steer it. Let that energy fuel your art, your ideas, your actions. Let it lift you. Let it free you from the boxes you've outgrown. And then there's someone from the past, a name, a message, a memory. It may come in quietly, or it may show up unexpectedly, forcing you to look at something you thought was closed. Don't assume it's here for reunion, and don't dismiss it too quickly either. Not everything from the past is meant to return. Some things reappear only to be re-evaluated. Check their intentions, check your own. The version of you who knew them is not the same person standing here now. Let that difference guide your response. Capricorn, you've been carrying silence for too long. You've stayed quiet about your needs, your limits, your truth, not because you're weak, but because you've been focused on keeping things together. But this week brings a turning point. It's not just about setting boundaries with other people. It's about setting boundaries with yourself. You've been overextending, overthinking, and undervaluing your own emotional bandwidth. That ends now. The universe is giving you permission to step back, not out of avoidance, but out of wisdom. At work, you may need to say no, not in a way that burns bridges, but in a way that makes it clear. You're no longer available for the weight that isn't yours to carry. In relationships, you may need to stop explaining yourself. If someone doesn't listen when you whisper, they won't hear you when you scream. And inside your own mind, it's time to draw the line between awareness and obsession. Reflection is powerful, but rumination will drain you. Catch yourself when the thoughts loop, interrupt the spiral, reclaim your focus. Your body may also be trying to speak louder this week. Fatigue, tension, strange little aches. These are not nuisances to ignore. They're messengers, indicators that your energetic system is clogged. The shift you need might be small. A change in diet, more water, more sleep, fewer screens, but the effect will be big. This isn't about a total overhaul. It's about listening to the little things your body is asking for and honoring them like you would a close friend. When you shift something physically, something emotionally unblocks. Don't underestimate that power. This week is about preservation, not isolation. You are not retreating from the world. You are retreating from distortion, from expectation, from the pressure to be everything for everyone while leaving nothing for yourself. That's not sustainable. And you know it. You've known it. Let this week be the one where you act on that knowing. Not because you were giving up, but because you were finally choosing to be on your own side. Aquarius, you've been feeling it for weeks now. something just beyond the horizon, something close, alive, waiting. The future no longer feels theoretical, it feels real, tangible, almost too close for comfort. You've had flashes of ideas, of dreams, of paths that light up in your imagination, but scare you when they start forming into reality. This week, the universe nudges you gently toward those visions. The path ahead is no longer asking to be studied, it wants to be walked. The pieces are aligning, not all at once, but enough for you to take that first step. And yes, it's terrifying. Not because it's wrong, but because it's finally real. You might find yourself standing in front of an unexpected door midweek. It may not look like what you imagined. It may arrive through an unusual conversation, an offer you didn't see coming, or a quiet whisper that stirs something inside your chest. Don't overanalyze it. Don't logic it into submission. This isn't about perfection, it's about presence. You are being asked to trust your higher mind now. Not the overthinking part that spirals with what-ifs, but the intuitive part that sees patterns before they form, that knows when something is meant even if it doesn't make sense yet. Your clarity will not come from dissecting every possibility. It will come from choosing. You are not behind. You are not late. You're just at the edge of something that requires more courage than you've ever used before. And that's okay. The fear in your chest isn't a warning, it's a companion. It only shows up when something matters, but you don't need to fight it. You only need to walk beside it. This week asks you to believe in what is unfolding, even if your rational mind hasn't caught up. You've outgrown the version of yourself that needed guarantees. Now it's time to act from alignment. Aquarius energy is always ahead of its time, always holding visions that others can't yet see. But this week, part of your growth comes not from imagining the future, but from embodying it, from taking the next step, not because you're sure of the outcome, but because you're sure of the call. Let this week be the beginning of a deeper trust in your own evolution. What you've been building in the dark is ready to see the light. All it needs is for you to say yes. Pisces, something within you stirs this week, a kind of soft awakening, quiet but undeniable. It doesn't come through pressure. It doesn't arrive through noise. It comes through stillness, through silence, through the moment you stop reaching and start receiving. This is the kind of week where your soul's voice becomes louder than the world's distractions. You might find it through a dream that lingers long after you wake, through a song that feels like a message meant just for you, or through a sudden moment of emotion that catches you off guard and reminds you that you're still wide open to life. Your sensitivity isn't a weakness. It's your compass now. There's a creative flow beginning again, a reignition of your spirit that doesn't need permission or structure. You're not here to explain your magic. You're here to embody it. And that may look like returning to your art, to your meditations, to your inner sanctuary. But even more than that, it may look like living from your intuition instead of trying to silence it. You've spent time doubting your inner knowing, second-guessing your instincts, trying to shrink your sensitivity into something the world could understand. But this week asks you to stop dimming your light for the sake of being palatable. You are not here to blend in. You are here to awaken others through your presence. There is, however, a warning in the energy this week. Avoid escapism. Pisces energy is deeply spiritual, but when overwhelmed, it seeks to disconnect. Whether it's through fantasy, distraction, or avoidance, the temptation to float away may arise. Don't take that path, not this time. Your power is not in avoidance, it's in transmutation. Use your gifts not to run from the world, but to soften it, to understand it, to heal what others don't even know needs mending. One small act of trust this week, one choice made from intuition instead of fear, can shift everything. You don't need to change your whole life overnight. You only need to say yes to one moment of clarity, and from there, the rest will unfold. This week reminds you that guidance doesn't always come in the form of instruction. Sometimes it's a feeling, a nudge, a sense of peace that arrives when something just feels right. Don't wait for someone to confirm what you already know. You are more guided than you've believed. The universe is already speaking through the things you love, through the words that move you, through the moments that make your eyes fill with tears and you don't know why. That's not coincidence. That's direction. Let yourself be moved this week. Let yourself feel more than you planned for. Let yourself believe that beauty can still surprise you, and that not every next step has to be calculated. The heart knows the way long before the mind agrees. You've walked through uncertainty before, but this time you don't have to walk through it alone. There's support here, there's guidance, and more than anything, there is hope. Quiet, steady, undeniable hope. And when you trust it, even just for one moment, everything begins to change. So as this week unfolds, remember this. The most profound transformations rarely happen in a flash. They happen in the quiet, in the courage to trust yourself, in the decision to stay open, and in the smallest moments of truth that echo far beyond the now.